I'd love to just jump right into a great topic, the garden, okay? Because you and Wooly filmed and edited the whole thing. You're the main editor, or you guys both did together alongside. I mean, I'm just going to say it right now. I mean, in the intro to the 100% handmade hand that is in the intro to the garden is Troy's hand. That's pretty legendary. But yeah, walk us through going into making the garden and why you chose to do it and the ethos behind it and all that stuff.
Yeah, the garden was a special one for sure. It was our first snowboard film. We had done a surfing film prior to that, so this was the snowboard. This is our chance to sort of like stamp ourselves in the snowboard world, and not knowing what it ended up being is wild. Like seeing how it has impacted the snowboard community and still continues to, which is really cool. But yeah, ultimately, I mean, that was pretty much Wooly's idea, and Wooly came from film background with Quicksilver and stuff too. So he had that experience already, and then he basically just took me under his wing and just said, like, "You want to do this together?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah, let's go for it." And what was wild though is, all right, I take that back. A Lively Ride was, I believe, before the garden, and then maybe Stony Baloney. I might have those backwards, but the reason why I'm sharing that is because we ended up shooting the garden in all Super 8 film. And so when we did a Lively Ride, that's when we got introduced to Super 8 film as well, and it was through Dave Sione. And I remember getting this tape prior to just editing a Lively Ride, and we put it in, me and Wooly, and we saw the Super 8, and we were both just like, oh my God, like video is out. There's no place for video in any of our films right now moving forward. And this is right when video was like really catching on. Like it was really starting, and it was so much cheaper. And I mean, we all know how cost efficient video is.
About mini DV tapes at the time, right? Like,
yeah,
yep,
totally.
Camcorder.
High 8.
Yeah, high 8.
Yeah,
okay, yep.
High 8, exactly. And it had a cool look, and it's funny now because I feel like a lot of people are using that look now currently is to make it just look kind of retro with the video. But yeah, ultimately that point on, we're doing Super 8. So we're like, okay, so how do we do it? And what are the cameras? And then I don't know how this happened, but Wooly, I think, connected with this cinematographer called Greg Weaver, who's an old school, very old school, like 70s. He made these incredible skateboarding movies and surfing movies, and he worked with this guy Spider Wills, so it was Greg Weaver and Spider Wills. He ended up living in Costa Mesa, which was like a quarter of a mile, maybe half a mile from Volcom. And so we got connected with him, ended up at his house, and all of a sudden he's just got this arsenal of Super 8 equipment, like everything that you need to make a film, and it's all the original cameras that he used shooting all these movies. So we were just instantly just thrown into this incredible opportunity, and he was in this place in his life where he was just selling, like offing everything for like pennies on the dollar, basically. So we just got all this equipment, and then we just started shooting. And I remember, this is the one thing that I remember the most about the garden. Well, there's a few things, but in the very beginning, we ended up going to Europe, to Lausanne, Switzerland, to shoot Terrier. And it was like a big deal. It was me and Wooly. And I had this camera, it was called a Nalcom, and then Wooly had the Bull U's, which is more of the traditional Super 8 film cameras. And I mean, we had, cartridges, like I probably had like 40 cartridges each. And for people that don't know, a cartridge is 3 minutes of footage. And basically one cartridge, like when you buy the cartridge and process it and transfer it, it ends up being $100 a roll for 3 minutes. So not cheap. And so basically I went there and shot all the film and was like stoked, but the margin for error with Super 8 is like nothing you've ever, it's just like one stop or half a stop, maybe either overexposed or underexposed. Get back, process all the film, all my stuff's black. Everything I shot was black. There was like one shot that I think we were able to use in the garden that was just light enough to be able to see what was going on. And that was my entrance into Super 8 filming. And I was devastated because we just had this epic European session. It was just like Terry going off in the pipe. He like won the contest. It was like this whole deal. We had 2 angles all set up, and all my shit was black. So yeah, I was pretty devastated, but I learned quickly. And then from then on, I, shooting test rolls and getting stuff back and getting the camera dialed. I'm like, okay, now I got it. And then from there, we went for it.
I've heard that story before from Wooly. And then you guys went to like Arlberg and everything else, like Steuben and stuff like that on that trip, and it was an epic trip. And he told me, he's like, we got back and half of all the footage was just black. So but that's what happens, that, and how much magic was in that footage. That's what I think about. No, I just have to say though that movie, Troy, like that set the groundwork, like us coming after and all the generations, that was just such an inspiration for so many years to this day. Like every film I ever made for Volcom was always inspired by the garden, everything.
Troy asked me last night on the couch, he goes, why do you think the garden is so like inspirational? And I'm going to forward that question to you, Seth.
Honestly, the cast of characters, you had Terry, you had Jamie, you had Gooch, like so many incredible, the teenager section, all the Groms coming up. I remember I used to just look at the teenager section alone. You got Pennywise, Tomorrow, the song that just burns in my head. And it was so inspiring. That section alone, it was, me personally, I wanted to be in that crew, right? But the garden was such a different take than anything that was out. You were getting, Fall Line, Standard, Mac Dog. You saw all those people in those films, but the garden was an entirely different look and feel that was completely organic, completely almost artistic and spiritual, I would say. And it was unbelievable. You know what I mean? Because I was on the couch watching all the videos. But you get to the garden in the rotation, you're just like, all right, let's go. You know what I mean?
Soundtrack too.
Oh, soundtrack, just, the vibe and what it represented. It'll never be like duplicated, ever again. And we tried many times. No, as like, we really like, I don't know, whenever, my time at Volcom, that was the guiding light. That was the holy grail. That was, every trip, whenever we got the crew together, it was always the garden vibes. Me and Gooch always talk about to this day. It's like garden vibes, he loves it. So thank you, Troy and Willie, for that creation. Goes down forever.
Awesome.
I would love to hear you talk about, the hand, the 100% handmade, your hand, but then going into, the handcrafted titles and all the stuff that came along with the visuals to support the snowboarding.
Yeah. Oh, that was a wild one. Yeah, Wooly and Mike Perillo worked really hard to create sort of the artwork that you see on the cover and the posters, and that's all Perillo's art. And then they created this whole paper mache like structure of Sonora Pass. And it was insane. And I don't remember if that inspired it, of like the actual it was the Super 8 film that really inspired the handmade, but I mean, they took it to the whole nother level. And just the process I was sharing with you last night about the whole process of like cutting the film and spicing everything together. Yeah, like me and Wooly both touched every single shot, like actually touched it with our hands. Because, you go, so basically what happens is you get back your cartridge, your 3 minutes, and you have a big lot of film, maybe it's 40, 50 rolls, and then you process it all, and then it goes onto these bigger reels all together. Well, first it comes back processed, then we splice them together and put it on the bigger reels. And then we go through a viewer. So it's just like kind of this reel-to-reel janky old school deal. And I'm watching the footage just with my hand, like going through, and then I'll be like, okay, that looks like a shot to keep. So then pull it through, cut it with scissors, pull it out, I'm still watching the footage of the shot. It's coming out. Okay, now it's done. Okay, now clip the other end. So now I'm holding the shot. And then we have cardboard boxes that are all labeled and numbered. And so then I take a piece of masking tape and I just masking tape it into the cardboard box. So all these shots are basically in this cardboard box in all around. And there's like maybe 100 per cardboard box. And so that's our A clips. And then like when we're done with all of that, and this would happen after every shoot because, you know, all the film would come in and we'd process it and then get these A reels completed like quickly because it's such a different, I mean, you're holding this stuff. And you want to like process it immediately because who knows, condensation or what, like anything could happen. You could like, you know, shoot it black, of course. And so ultimately, it was just such an incredible process. And then after we get all these A clips in this cardboard box, then like Wooly would like feed them to me. Basically, it was like, okay, here's the first one. And so I'd put it through into a splicer, and then the next one, like basically put cement, it's like rubber cement into this splicer, and then the next one shot would come in, and then you rubber cement the other hand, and then you like flip it over, and then it glues it together. And then I'm reeling it into an A reel. So then all of a sudden we have these A reels, and then once we'd have enough, then we would transfer all that footage, and then we would transfer it onto a big old beta tape, which were huge back in the day. And that was like the actual masters, and then from the beta there'd be a VHS working tape, and that was what we edited on, was these VHS tapes, and they were all time coded and all that. So it was a major process. Like, I mean, this is like a year-long process. Like, however long we shot the garden, it was a season or so. I think it was like maybe 2 seasons. But yeah, it was. But back then, it was just like I didn't know any better. I was like, oh, this is how you do it. Like, I had no idea how crazy that was at the time. But it was such a powerful experience for us. I mean, me and Wooly bonded so much for sure in the garden because we spent so much time together and just doing all that. It was a wild time.
I have a question about being up at Sonora filming the garden. When you were camping and you're hiding out in the woods and you're shooting these, you know, Turrier and Gooch, and they're doing these unbelievable tricks, monumental tricks at the time, and you guys are just up there in the middle of nowhere in the spring. Did you have some sort of feeling that what you were doing was special at the time?
Yeah, it felt very special. It was very special, but it was more about in the moment special. It wasn't like what was happening after. It was just like, this is incredible what we're doing right now. And for me, that was the specialness. And then, of course, after then bringing it all together, it was like, wow, this is actually very special because we're able to share this with other people. So, but yeah, I knew it was special for sure. I mean, I probably went up there 3 or 4 times maybe for different like trips, and we would just like camp out and just shuttle guys in and out basically. And I remember scouting the garden one time with Gooch. It was just me and Gooch and then one of his buddies or something. And it was one of many. I mean, there was other scouting missions too with all the boys, but like I just remember being with Gooch and we're camping out and stuff and just looking at each other going, this is freaking insane. We're just up here by ourselves and like look at this zone that we can just go and play, like be with and play with. So it was amazing.
Was that like, and you know, was that like the last filming mission of the video?
I don't remember, to be honest. It's kind of a blur. I don't really remember. It might have
Granson's springtime usually, right?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. It might have been throughout, and there was maybe 1 or 2 things after that kind of like sealed it up. But that was the foundation for sure. The Sonora, I mean, that was what created just the team camaraderie was insane. I mean, because we were camping together and then shooting, and it was just insane. No snowmobiles, just hiking everywhere. It's just wild. How
did you guys name that zone, the garden? Like what brought you the inspiration for that?
Gosh, I don't know. I want to say Perilla maybe named it, but Wooly would know that. Maybe Wooly named it. It was one of the boys that it was probably just like by the campfire, man, this place is the garden or something, you know, just for snowboarding. It's just insane. So I'm making that up, but it could have been something like that. And so maybe Perillo. I feel like Perillo might have named it.
Awesome.
Okay.